Hello my friends and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I'm back with another collection update. This time all vinyl and this time all from one of the biggest bands in the world. One of the most important non-metal bands to heavy metal music. Of course, we're talking about the mighty AC/DC. That Australian rock machine, an absolute pioneer, a legend, everyone knows it. I freaking love AC/DC. I've dug out all of my props here. Tin that contained a bottle of beer and a glass. The power up, light up box there that doesn't light up for as long as it did. And also, if you can make out, we've got AC/DC stamps, a whole load of tapes which I've recently picked up, and I'll do a review, an update of those as well at some point soon. But this band, this commercial giant, they're a freaking great band. They are legendary. They are megastars for a reason. For over 50 years, well over 50 years now, AC/DC have been rocking and rolling unapologetically. AC/DC just freaking rock. And they've pioneered and they've inspired. They have inspired so many metal bands and they've been a crucial part of metal. They are one of those bands, and I always liken them to bands like Thin Lizzy, for example. Bands that aren't metal. They're not metal bands, but they're kind of on that cusp. They get swept up into heavy metal because they're just freaking great. It's guitar heavy music. It's just really good music. And if you follow the channel, if you've seen any of my previous collection updates, recent ones anyway, I've been systematically picking up more and more of AC/DC's albums on vinyl. So I do have them all on CD, but they're one of those bands that I love and respect so much that I kind of feel that I want all their albums on vinyl as well. It's serious curse of the collector stuff that you just don't know when to stop. But hey, you know what? It's all good. It's all good stuff. It's great music, so why not? And the first article that I've recently picked up is one of my favourite AC/DC albums. For a long time, I did state that it was my favourite AC/DC album. I am talking about the 1977 rockin' monster, Let There Be Rock. Superb cover, although slightly misleading, because when I first saw it, I did think that this was a live album. But that said, this is an absolute monster of an album. And I say that I did say for a long time it was my favourite AC/DC album. That is true. But since discovering some of the slightly deeper dives, I mean, let's face it, even AC/DC's lesser known albums or lesser appreciated albums, are more underrated albums, are still rock titans. You know, they're still gonna have shifted a whole load of copies. But albums like Blow Up Your Video, Flick of the Switch, Fly on the Wall, love those albums, and they've massively grown on me with time. But also the follow-up album, Power Rage, I freaking love that. I freaking love that album so much. That is just, it's just toe to toe, really. But also, can we really pick one favourite AC/DC album? They don't have any bad albums. Anyway, Let There Be Rock. This is an essential album. This is an essential rock album. It contains some of the best AC/DC tracks, I personally feel. I mean, everyone knows, every AC/DC fan anyway, all know Let There Be Rock. You know, it's a great rock epic. It's a freaking masterpiece. The playing from the Young Brothers, Bon Scott, the late great Bon Scott, he sounded so fantastic here. Phil Rudd on drums, absolutely killing the kit, and Mark Evans on bass, this album. This is obviously not an original. This is a 2003 reissue. But what I really like about this particular reissue run is that the inserts and the whole package is just really good. This feels like there's such attention to detail. Like they've really put the effort in with this package. It's not It's not a flimsy, lightweight vinyl. It's not a crappy, weak package or anything like that. It's just black vinyl. Yeah, but hey, what's wrong with that? That's pretty rocking. That's pretty rocking. I absolutely love this album. The opening couple of tracks in particular, I think are just absolute freaking monsters. Kicking off with the absolutely superb Go Down. That is just a rocking beast. That riff is just absolutely infectious. And then Dog Eat Dog is just amazing. That's an infectious rock and rollin' number. Bad Boy Boogie is a great one. I love Problem Child, particularly Bond's vocals. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's just a bit of fun. Overdose is a great one. In fact, if I remember correctly, yes, Exodus did a great cover of that one. That's a great track. Also, how could we forget Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be? What a number. What an absolute masterpiece that track is. Love it to bits. And Whole Lot of Rosie. Full of classics. Absolute masterpiece. So it's one that I'm very pleased to have finally picked up. And I think that one was a very good deal. Acquired... It wasn't on Amazon. I can't remember where it was now, but it was about £16, £17. So an absolute masterpiece, an all-time classic. That's one of those albums every rock fan, every metal fan needs to have heard. Up next is an album that I have mixed feelings about. So this is the follow-up album from 1981, get my years right. The follow-up to, I would probably say that it's got to be the biggest AC/DC album. Maybe joint biggest with Highway to Hell. I don't know. I don't know the numbers of units sold, but Back in Black is just one of the all-time biggest and best rock albums just freaking ever, right? Love it. It was Brian Johnson's introduction to AC/DC and AC/DC's magnum opus. It's the album that absolutely just rocketed. And not that they weren't doing well before that. Of course, sadly, after Highway to Hell, Bon Scott passed away. They got Brian Johnson into the fold, and things were going good from the off. This album, the follow-up, I feel just kind of disappoints a little bit. When I first heard this album, and I must have been about 15 or 16 years old, I thought it was great. I thought, yeah, this is rocking stuff. You know, it's AC/DC, and it certainly does sound like AC/DC. But over the years, I've kind of just, I don't know, not fallen completely out of favour with it, because it's still a great album in its own way. It's just not as strong as the album that came before it, nowhere near, and not as strong as the album that came after it, because I'm saying that Flick of the Switch is one of the best. But this album, I did decide to pick it up. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, so they've got a few articles here which I acquired through a seller on eBay, a little store. They had a couple of the 50th anniversary, and I did make the decision to stick the sticker on the back there. The 50th anniversary gold edition reissue. They had a few of these available, and I don't really care if it's the gold version or the 2003 reissue. Whatever it is, I kind of just want the album so that I can play it on the turntable. Anyway, I ordered 4 albums in total. 3 arrived, and 2 of them were not ones that I ordered. So it was a bit of a hash, and ended up given my money back. To be honest, the seller was absolutely apologetic and fine about it. They gave me pretty much all my money back. So, and I ended up with 3 albums. 4 albums, apologies. 4 albums for practically nothing. So I think I win. Anyway, for those about to rock. Now, the title track, the opening track, is an absolute classic. It is, of course, an essential AC/DC song. Pretty much every live show they've done ever since this album's been released has concluded with that. I don't know if that is actually fact, but it's every time that I have seen a set list or heard a live recording, it does always seem to close with that. I don't know. But it's a lovely gatefold vinyl, this particular, or gatefold package, this particular version. I do love the cover. I think that it's stark, just as Back in Black was, and it's eye-catching, definitely, punchy. But it's not necessarily a great, amazing opus like the album that came before it. It's nowhere close. But the package is really nice. So again, we've got the nice inserts, the full printed insert with the bio there. And what I will say is that this gold disc is very cool. It's quite heavy duty vinyl, feels a good weight, and yeah, looks the part. Looks special, feels special, has a special touch to it. But there are some good tracks on this album. So I mentioned the title track, For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. Of course, that is an all-time classic. There's no denying that. I think it'd be very silly to deny that, of course. I Put the Finger on You is a good one. Inject the Venom is a good number, as is Snowballed. I think, the other tracks are good. They're good tracks, but I think that the issue here is that it was following up such a monster album. Still produced by Mutt Lange, and sounds good, production is good, but I think it's in the shadow, and it's going to forever, for me anyway, be in the shadow. I think for some fans, this might be the best thing AC/DC ever did, and that's totally fine. For me, it's just slightly short of what I would have expected on the back of such an amazing benchmark album. But, hey, who am I to say? It's freaking AC/DC. It's still a mega status album. These 50th anniversary reissues have really cool limited inserts as well. And it's a really cool package, actually. So I did well to get this for practically nothing. So For Those About to Rock. Now, I feel like I've been hard on the album, and I apologise. Up next, we've got a bit of an odd one. So this is one that I didn't order. I'm actually not massively familiar with this. I know that 74 Jailbreak is a little bit of a misleading title. If I'm not much mistaken, I think this package was released in 84. Don't hold me to it. I think that it contains tracks from across the years. I think Jailbreak actually came from around 76, around the Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap album. And then I think, if I'm not much mistaken, the other original tracks were from the original High Voltage release from Australia. So yeah, a bit of an interesting one. Again, this is a 50th anniversary one. Can't say too much about the material because I'm not all that familiar with it. Of course, I've heard it, I've got the CD of it, but it's still a nice package. I feel like this is a bit of a nod to Bon Scott. Obviously, if it was released in 84, then Brian would have been in the band for a few years. But I think it's more of a, closing the gap, filling a few gaps here, getting some material out there, getting the Bond fans another fix. Lovely gold vinyl, again, really nice thing. So to have it for practically free, if not free completely, then that's pretty good in my mind. Again, insert 74 Jailbreak, very cool. Can't say too much on the material, but still a nice package. Nice. So up next we have another classic, another essential that is a bit of a favourite of mine, but I do have one slight issue with it. The Razor's Edge. This masterpiece from 1990. Yes, 1990. This is a storming album. It's, in my opinion, it's one of the heaviest AC/DC albums. It's also got some tremendously rocking numbers on there. It's got fab vocals from Brian, who's still on great form. Some killer riffs. The problem lies in track number 5. I've got a bit of a problem with Christmas songs in the mix of the album. Mistress for Christmas, that is the slight issue here, because as a Christmas song, it's amazing. Alongside King Diamond's No Presents for Christmas, that's one of the best Christmas metal rock songs you're gonna hear, but I don't really want to hear it when I'm in the flow of my rocking. You know, it's currently late summer. I'm listening to this album. I don't want to be hearing Jingle Bells or anything like that. But the rest of the album is absolutely storming. So obviously it opens with one of AC/DC's biggest songs ever, Thunderstruck, a masterpiece, an absolute classic, great track. Then followed up with the, in my opinion, even better Fire Your Guns, which is just such a rocking, barn-storming track. Absolutely, whoa, that's out there. Money Talks, love it, because it really, really smacks of Blow Up Your Video. Fly on the Wall, just a classic. The Razor's Edge, love it. One of the heaviest moments, one of the... Oh, it just gets you. It just freaking gets you. One of the best moments on this album for sure, that title track. Mistress for Christmas, I'm going to overlook that. Rock Your Heart Out, great. You know, the second side, in my opinion, isn't quite as strong as the first side, but that's by AC/DC standards, so it's still freaking great. Are You Ready? Got You by the Balls. Let's Make It is a great one. Goodbye and Good Riddance to Bad Luck, and If You Dare. So the album sounds fantastic, produced by Bruce Fair. I always mispronounce it. Fairburn. Burn. Apologies. This album, freaking love it, except for Mistress. You know, it's fine at Christmas, but just not any other time of the year. That's not okay. So this I actually picked up from a great record shop. It's the 2003 version. Great record shop in Felixstowe, Suffolk, UK, called Onion Vinyl. And they've got tons of awesome stuff in there. If you're in Felixstowe, do pay a visit, because it's a great store. It was about £20, I think, and in my mind, that's absolutely worth it for this just masterpiece classic album. Amazing. Lovely black vinyl, the lovely insert here. Just great. Absolutely essential stuff. One of the best. Well, it's up against some tough competition. I could probably say any album is the best, because let's face it, they're all masterpieces in their own way. But Razor's Edge. So this is where it gets even more complicated. Another one. So this was again from the same seller that there was a bit of a mix-up. I think I basically got someone else's order. So I've now got a gold version. This is a 50th anniversary version of the Razor's Edge as well. So again, the only difference I can see in the package here is the track list font color. But hey, you know what? I'm not bothered. It was free, so hey, we've got our Razor's Edge. Oh, that is good. I like that. Very cool. And gold. What's not to love? Very eye-catching stuff. Very, 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 very cool. Great album. Nothing else I need to say about it, other than it's a great album, and this is a nice package. Definitely. So, then we have one final AC/DC vinyl article from my recent pickups. And it is one of the albums that I'm far less familiar with, actually. It is the 1995 follow-up album, Ball Breaker. So again, I've had the CD for many years, but actually, for some reason, although I've heard it a number of times, I feel like from revisiting it, I don't know it nearly as well as I thought I did. So it's a Rick Rubin album. And to be honest, it's quite different. It's still AC/DC, but maybe it is because of the Rick Rubin influence. I don't know. It's still AC/DC. Like I say, it still sounds like AC/DC. It's got AC/DC sound, but I don't know, there's subtle differences there. So that's our cool insert. Got the Ball Breaker logo and font. Very cool. Nice insert. And you know, the band rather still sounds fab. Of course, it's the Young Brothers, Brian, Cliff, Phil. You know, the key components are all there. There's just something about it that just sounds quite considerably different. But maybe that's just my ears. Maybe I need to get even more familiar with it. There are a couple of particular standout tracks. There's a couple that I feel are maybe not quite as strong as some of the others. Hard as a Rock is a good one. Cover You in Oil is a pretty good number. The Führer, not so keen on. I think maybe it was just a different world then, but even so, I feel like it's a bit of an odd number. Clearly in 1995, it wasn't quite considered as risky, maybe. Burning Alive, Hail Caesar, Caught With Your Pants Down, Whiskey on the Rocks, and Title Track, good one. But yeah, an odd number. I feel like I really do need to get more familiar with it, because the more I listen to it, it just doesn't quite seem to sink in. Whereas an album like The Razor's Edge, that's sticking in your head from the first listen, first couple of listens. Same with Let There Be Rock, you know, or For Those About to Rock, even that a title intro track is just, you know, instantly catchy. I feel like this doesn't quite have the same catchiness, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. Still a good album by AC/DC standards. It's just not quite as good as some of their other albums. But it's a lovely article nonetheless, especially when it's almost free. So that is all of my recent AC/DC vinyl pickups. Kicking off with the 1977 all-time benchmark freaking masterpiece album, Let There Be Rock. Rest in peace, Bon. Then we've got the 1981. I feel like I've been really unfair on this album, actually. But you know what? It is good. It is a great album. It's just not a top AC/DC album. But For Those About to Rock, still a killer cover. 74 Jailbreak, an interesting one. I do need to get more familiar with that. But nice in gold. And then two different variants of The Razor's Edge, just for good measure. It's an amazing album. Classic. So, my friends, what are your thoughts and opinions on the mighty AC/DC? Do you love them and worship them as I do, or do you feel they don't belong associated with our heavy metal world? I doubt anyone does feel like that, but hey, you know what? You're entitled to your own opinion. But do feel free to share your thoughts on AC/DC and these albums. Do you have these versions? What are your thoughts? Let me hear. Interested to have discussions on the mighty AC/DC as always. Thank you very much for watching. Please do feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Support is very much appreciated. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good heavy things. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Listen to frickin' AC/DC high voltage rock and roll and stay heavy.